All right. So Patty and I are joined today by Larry Talley. Larry is the CEO and founder of Everywhere. How are you doing today, Larry?
Excellent, James. Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Absolutely.
it's great to have you.
Yeah, well, we're really excited about the conversation today. Patty and I were talking about, topics we have not covered. One of them is text to pay,
Right.
which really is kind of shocking because it's such a big topic. And I think it's one that a lot in our audience have maybe ignored or haven't paid attention to as much as they should. So we're going to dive into that. Before we do, though, Larry, I'd love to get your story. Tell us how you got into this crazy industry, how you ended up founding Everywhere.
Yeah, no, great question. Because I really wasn't, really involved too much in payments most of my, career. I actually got in the payment industry only about 4 years ago, and prior to that, I spent about almost 20 years in the resort and hospitality space, where I learned which was high risk. And being in that
Sure.
space, not knowing too much about the payment side of the world and that spectrum, I realized that wow, if this is a high risk industry, what makes it so high risk? And really, it was the lack of communication or the fact that you just can't call or get a hold of someone like you used to. And it obviously converts a lot of chargeback refunds, online bad reviews, and all the issues that go along with the lack of communication. And man, if you can just send somebody a text message in 140 characters or less, pretty much solve the world's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
so let's do this, Larry. I would love to kind of zoom out for a minute because again, this is a topic that I think our audience has not paid as much attention to as they should. So can you talk to our audience of, independent salespeople that are out there selling merchants on payment processing or ISOs that are selling point of sale systems, et cetera? Why should they care about text to pay? And maybe give us a little bit of an overview of what that even means and why they should care about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For a number of different reasons. For one, it's a great leave behind. In other words, even if you swipe a credit card transaction and you send out a thank you receipt that allows them to text back, that gives you the ability to constantly have a communication touch point with your customer. Think of it like a tether, right? You always have that tether with the consumer where you can text them and they can text you. So the best thing about it is once you establish that tether, right, that connection, with your customer, when they owe you money, you can just reach out to them, send them a text message, and it's not going to be weird, right? It's not going to be something that's
Right.
unexpected. You'll find it's actually natural. And what's great for ISOs, it creates added value by having another payment method. A lot of times as an ISO, you're always focusing on net new, right? Going out there, getting new business. But what does it look like to go out to your back book, right? With something cool that they don't have already, right? And being able to offer your back book the ability now to offer text to pay, right? So it's another payment method that's really taken off. It's contactless, but better yet, I like to think of it as just being a convenient way to transact, with your customers. So it's really great for ISOs. And then for the businesses, no different than I got my hair cut this morning. I had to look good for your show, by the way, right? Maybe you don't see my
Appreciate
video.
that.
But just in case, their terminal went down, right? And they had to literally write down my credit card number
Wow.
on a piece of paper, and I'll charge it when it comes back up.
Oh,
Well, man, you know what? This is just a great, scenario of being a backup payment method, right? Being a
right.
backup to a piece of hardware that continuously fails, right? And so by having the ability, I mean, everyone walks around with a terminal in their pocket. So
Yeah.
if they would have had, text to pay, they would have just sent me a text link and it would have been done.
Yep.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, Larry, explain exactly what you mean by text to pay. I mean, are we sending people to a mobile or a hosted payments page? I'm assuming you're not collecting payment data via text message, right? So can you give us a little sense for how exactly it works?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Patty. Great question. So the way it initially works, or the way that you get provision, in a network, is basically you'll receive a text message with a secure payment link. Think of it as a direct tokenized link that gets you right to the checkout page, right? So it skips all the logins, all the clutter. It gets you right to the checkout page, which simply asks you for your credit card. But when it asks you for your credit card, what's unique about it, it gives you the ability to save it on, save your profile. And by saving it means that the next time you don't have to click on the link. You can literally reply the words yes, and it'll charge the credit card on file, really making it that much more easier for you to actually pay.
Hmm. Now that's actually really interesting. I hadn't thought about that angle. So what you're saying is, just to kind of clarify, you're saying that I go to the same place to get my hair cut like you do. And so I go to this place every few weeks, and I could potentially save my card on file there. And then I could get a text that says, hey, you're coming in today. Do you want to go prepay or whatever? And I could just reply back, yes. So it says, do you want to prepay? I'm assuming it would say like using card ending in 2360 or something. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, right? It says, would you like to
That's cool.
prepay, James? So think of it also like in copays, right? A lot of times you get reminded to show up for your appointment, no different
Right.
than like you said for the hair example. But now you can actually pay for your copay in advance. And
Wow.
what's really great about paying for your copay in advance and saving your card on file before you even get to the doctor's office is that 30 or 45 days later, when they go after you to try to collect what insurance didn't cover, they shoot you a text message, right? And can you replay, please, reply yes using the card ending in 7212. You say yes, and your
Right.
doctor gets paid. So it's a very easy, convenient way now to transact.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about kind of different methods of payment here. I've been actually really impressed with kind of the experience of paying on my phone. It's one of the reasons I was excited about this conversation. Lately I've been ordering things from my phone that I would used to go on my laptop, but with like Apple Pay and, scanning to take the picture of the card. And, there's a lot of more convenient ways to get this data. It used to be like, I got to type out everything. So talk about kind of what that consumer experience is like. You touched on it a second ago, but are there other payment options? Can they use Apple Pay, Google Wallet? Do they have like to scan the card? Talk to us a little bit about that technology and how that plays into what you're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it comes down to this, if you have a preferred payment method like Apple Pay or PayPal even, that you like to transact with that secure payment link, it's taking you to a virtual checkout page, right? Or that virtual terminal page where you can really use the payment method of your choice. And that might even be ACH, right? You might even go collect bank information this way. But really it's just giving that user or that customer the ability to pay what they're accustomed to, right? So Apple Pay, Google Pay, it really doesn't matter. We provide all those different payment methods as part of our pay by text solution. And I call it pay by text versus text to pay, because text to pay to me is when you actually have to think about texting in a keyword, right, to transact
Right.
or to start the process. Where pay by text is just really giving you the ability to just really pay by text. So I like to kind of reverse it and think of it more as a pay by text solution.
Yeah.
Cool. So what about in terms of software companies and even gateways, Larry? What's their take on this? Are they using text to pay, and or are you seeing more awareness of this, particularly over we've all seen over the past year how people want to pay in a touchless manner, right? I mean, and so it's, I know there's been a lot of interest in contactless, traditional contactless. What are you seeing in terms of awareness of this text to pay type, these types of options?
Yeah, so I will throw one card brand out there that we got really excited, so much excited that, this card brand meets with us once a week, and they really meet with us every Monday morning. It's one of their first calls every Monday, and that's with Visa. Visa basically is adopted, and they understand that there's a lot of new payment methods that are coming onto the market right now. And then just like cash went away, plastic is going to go away as well. So they know that they got to be cardless and frictionless into the future. So they're looking at alternative payment methods like everywhere that offer a solution like we offer. And what's unique about our solution is that in our partnership with Visa, who recommends a number of their clients to us, is that the ability to store that device information, right, that cell phone, your profile, that card in a network vault. And that once you're in the network vault, you can actually use it across merchants and across acquirers. And it's pretty powerful if you think about it, because today I could give my wife my credit card and she can go use it. There's really nothing to stop her. Back in the day, they would ask you for a driver's license, but since the chip came out, companies feel like they don't have to ask for a license anymore. So by having that cell phone creates two-factor authentication, right? It's that second ability to help reduce fraud, help reduce risk associated with e-commerce transactions, card not present transactions, right? And that's what Everywhere does. We offer a very convenient way, but also a very secure way that utilizes your device information and your card information, and ultimately replaces that plastic option, right? That swipe option. So The car brands have really adopted it. They really see this being something that's going to be highly used into the future. And that's why they're making the investments in companies like Everywhere to help bring that to market.
Let's dig in a bit more on the technology integration side. Larry, I'm really interested in maybe some specific examples or use cases when we're talking about software. We touched on the idea of the hair salon or whatever, but I would imagine that usually that's taking place through like a point of sale integration or ISV integration. Can you give us some examples or some use cases of maybe how some technology companies, are leveraging what you're doing?
Yeah, so a good use case would be like Clover, for instance. We actually added a new button on Clover. It's a new key. It's a payment key right next to credit card that says pay by text, right? And you basically push that button, and now it basically asks you for a phone number versus a credit card. Basically enter the phone number and it triggers that secure payment link, right, to go out to that user. And for the first time, if they're not in the network, it'll ask them for their credit card information. And what's great about this, it gives that POS, that point of sale system, now the ability to accept a remote payment, right? They don't have to ask for credit cards over the phone anymore. And you think about it, I mean, we're in 2021 and we're still giving out credit card phone numbers over the phone just for somebody to be writing it down on the back of a napkin, right? And now you don't have to do that. You don't have to ask somebody for their credit card. You ask for your phone number.
Right.
You send that, right? And you allow that user to complete the transaction on their own device with their own information, including signing it, right? They can sign their own device.
Right.
Right. So it's great to see this payment method really starting to take form.
So what about on the other side of this? Like, I'm curious, as somebody that would sell merchants, are there a lot of merchants that use this as kind of a standalone or a separate thing where it's not integrated with a point of sale or something along those lines? Maybe smaller merchants. I'm thinking of like a auto repair shop, that is frustrated with trying to collect the second half of the deposit or whatever on their transmission job or something. How does that work? Is there like a gateway or a dashboard or something, or how would that work as a standalone?
Yeah, the very first thing you do is go to everywhere.com. That's spelled like software, and you sign up, right? You claim your business, like that auto body example that you just mentioned. Right. And really within minutes, you get a merchant account that you can begin to set transactions on. So really out of the box within minutes, you can have your own dedicated platform, like you said, with a dashboard. I like to think of it as like if Stripe and Twilio had a baby, right? You combine those combination of communication and payments. You give you your own custom dashboard to manage your conversations like you would on Twilio. And better yet, now you can also manage your payment transactions like you would if you were using Stripe. It's that type of convenience and platform that we offer right out of the box. And it really just takes minutes to get set up.
So I think at this point, I generally have a pretty good feel of like what our audience is thinking as they're listening to an episode. I know what all of them are thinking right now, and that is, are you processor agnostic, or at least to the point of, you mentioned going back to your back book. Well, obviously I don't want to switch my merchants from TSYS or Elevon or First Data or, whatever. Can you talk a little about that? If I've already, I'm trying to board as much business as I can with this processor, how does that work? Is it a separate processing kind of mid with what you're doing, or is it integrated, or talk to us about that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we make it really easy. I like to say, again, use the word frictionless, because it really is frictionless to get going. In other words, if you're already happy, like you said, with Card Connect or on Fiserv, then all we need is simply your API key, and you plug it in our platform, and now those two systems are connected, right? They actually can communicate to one another, and you can process transactions, and they're going to show up on the same statement that you get already. And we really made it that easy. And so for ISOs out there, this is 100% new margin to their bottom line, right? This is added value. They can now charge, whether it's an extra $25 or $50 a month, to get access to this payment method and this platform and keep their existing mid, right? Because it's always, like you said, a pain in the butt if you have to set up a new one. This really makes it easy, a little bit maybe even too easy, to literally just plug in an API key, from your acquirer, and those two systems are now communicating. And we've integrated to really all the major ones that are out there today. And always happy to do another one if a new one comes our way.
Yeah, sure. That's cool. So now you mentioned, so they would give the API key, but then I'm assuming there would be some additional step to set up that particular merchant. Like are they actually keeping the same mid in that case for that merchant, or are they setting up a new mid? Like, how does that, just out of curiosity, I'm getting a little technical, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no problem. I would say that more than 75% can keep their own mid that accept card not present transactions today.
Okay.
Now, if this is a, strictly a mid that's used to getting, terminal face-to-face transactions, then yes, they'll have to, in cases, set up a new one.
Right.
Again, add in a new one versus basically, replacing one, so,
Right.
right.
So
And
they're not losing a mid, of course. They're
no,
adding another bid.
they're adding another mid. In this case, to support a card not present transaction. Now, what's great about some of the changes that we're seeing that are going to happen in early 2022 is, and it's again, platforms like Everywhere that's leading the charge, is this being treated like a card present transaction. So actually a reduction in interchange.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's more secure, like you mentioned earlier, than even a normal card present transaction. So why wouldn't you get the lower rate? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so last question I have is, let's talk about the economic model a little bit. Clearly, I think the ISOs and agents will understand the benefits that are kind of more intangible of, they're increasing volume, payment processing volume, they're increasing retention, they're going to get residuals on the payments that are processed because it's going through their platform. So I get all that. Are there additional economic incentives of offering Everywhere as a reseller, or is it really more about that kind of, the fact that they're just adding more volume to their existing mids?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's always great when you're able to add more volume to your existing mids, but being able to basically charge an extra $25 or $50 a month for our platform, that might have cost you only $15 as part of our, licensing agreement for our system, is huge. Sure. Right? It's huge for these ISOs to continuously get this reoccurring check each month, for not for transactional revenue that they're already getting on the processing volume, but for software as a service. And I think that goes a long way. I think that investors, and when you're selling your book of business, software as a service has a tremendous amount of value in your product offering. And so if you can show that as an ISO, I think that's huge upside for you. And we're always welcome to incentivize our ISOs as well that want to start with us and basically see. So in other words, for every account that you board, we'll send you an extra $100. So we have different incentive plans, that offer our ISOs, but ultimately it's a win-win scenario.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. That sounds great. I know there's a lot of ISOs even that would have, 1,000 Clover, 2,000 Clover merchants where it's like they could literally enable this button basically. And, obviously there'd be some behind the scenes work, but, working on that and then adding that, $50 a month onto the bill. And, so yeah, it's a great revenue opportunity. Sounds awesome. I know a lot of people will want to learn more about it. Can you give us a little more insight on what the process is like to become a reseller, and tell our audience where do they go to learn more about doing that?
Yeah, so we've been trying to get really easy, right? Easy in the sense that you just go to everywhere.com. That's EVERYWARE.com. You'll notice a little text us tab on the bottom right-hand corner. You can literally just text us in podcast, that keyword podcast, and our basically system will respond to you and start the process to onboard you as a reseller in our system. You can also just text us at 561-404-1462. And you can literally just text us at that number to go ahead and that'll help initiate the reseller program, and you can go ahead and get started. But really, just access us through everywhere.com, and that text us button on your bottom tab right will have really you to get enrolled in our program, and you'll see how easy it is to get started with us. I mean, we're probably one of the easier companies. I like to think that we're one of the easiest companies to work with.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised that the method of reaching out to you is via text message. So.
I know, right? That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, it would have been a little bit dicey if you said email us.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So.
Right, or God forbid I said call us.
Right. So, Larry, great information. I'm really glad we're able to have this conversation. I think it's going to be good for our audience to just kind of understand this world a little bit and hopefully reach out and learn more about this opportunity. So thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, James. And thank you so much, Patty.
Yeah, great learning from you today, Larry. Thank you.